What you call that noise?
The XTC Podcast.
XTCdynamite.com.
What do you call that noise?
What do you call that noise?
We did this gig at the Bowl when it was 1976. It was 50th anniversary since we actually did that to the day. And the reason I know that is because it was my 21st birthday.
That's the voice of Terry Chambers as he prepares to celebrate his 71st birthday exactly as he celebrated his 21st by playing at the Town Gardens Bowl in Swindon. Hello, I'm Mark Fisher, and in this episode of What Do You Call That Noise, the XTC podcast, we'll be talking to Terry about 1976 and the last time XTC played the open-air Art Deco venue in the town centre. We'll also be talking about the 18th of July 2026, when Terry and EXTC will be headlining a mini festival. The all-day event features Chris Cobbson and Roi Geyari, Mickelson and Jim Blair, before EXTC take to the stage with a cracking set of XTC favourites. And I know it will be cracking because I saw EXTC shortly after Gayle, Ramage and I talked to Terry at the Voodoo Rooms here in Edinburgh, and they were on tremendous form. So you've got a lot to look forward to there if you can get tickets to the Swindon Bowl. With their current four-man lineup of Terry on drums, Terry Lines on bass, Carl Lawney on guitar and keyboards, and Nigel Whitley on guitar, they are doing tremendous justice to songs from throughout the XTC canon, and they have a sort of particular emphasis on the hard rocking sounds of Drums and Wires and Black Sea. So it's a great night. We'll hear our chat with Terry in a minute, but first we're staying with Swindon musicians as it happens, and we're going to be hearing from Dave Beale, who is in a band called Age of Freedom, along with Daryl Roberts, and he's going to be talking about their song Glide, which is this episode's song inspired by XTC.
What do you call that noise?
Greetings one and all, and let me start with a big thank you to Mark Fisher for keeping the XTC torch burning with optimism's flame. My name is Dave Beale, and together with my oldest Swindonian friend Daryl Roberts, we collaborate annually on writing and recording a song. The format for this slow-burning project involves Daryl taking a 2-week break from his job with the Royal Mail to visit me here in southwest France. We spend a week travelling the beautiful countryside, gaining inspiration en route, followed by a week writing and recording a new song with just one microphone, a laptop, a keyboard, a selection of guitars, and rather inconveniently for left-handed Daryl, my right-handed bass. For our latest song, Glide, Daryl presented me with a demo, a simple, angular, slightly punkish idea, and asked me to help him refine it. In so doing, the song quickly evolved towards a more psych pop feel, with subtle influences of XTC and the Dukes of Stratosphere. In a previous What You Call That Noise podcast, Andy Partridge said something that resonated with me. He said that he wasn't aware of taking on influences, but that they just went really deep into his influence zone. Daryl and I both grew up in Swindon, and from the first time we saw XTC play at the Affair in 1977, spotty 14-year-olds, we were hooked, and so I suppose it was inevitable that something of their songs would creep into our own low-key productions. In the case of Glide, the links are akin to the introduction of Mermaid Smiled, with a touch of the 12-string of Then She Appeared. Adding the mellotron was more a nod to the Duke's kaleidoscope ending, to introduce a touch of melancholy and steer it towards the bittersweet feel of songs such as Wrapped in Grey. Anyway, we hope you enjoy our bedroom production. All the best from Daz and Dave, or as we're known from time to time, Age of Freedom.
Is filled with life.
What do you call that noise?
Thank you very much for that, Dave. You can find Age of Freedom on Spotify and YouTube and SoundCloud, and I'll include a link to one of those things in the podcast blurb. And if you have an XTC-inspired song, do let me know at mark@xtclimelight.com. What do you call that noise? The XTC podcast is sponsored by the online record shop Burning Shed, which is the only place to get official XTC merchandise. They ship worldwide and proceeds go to the band. You can sign up for their weekly newsletter at burningshed.com, where you'll also find goodies from loads of artists, including Stephen Wilson, David Bowie, Thomas Dolby, and Kate Bush. Also helping keep the podcast going are the dedicated XTC fans who have signed up to Patreon. Many thanks to all of them. If you'd like to be part of this elite team, and who wouldn't be, because they keep the podcast going, what are you waiting for? Just go over to patreon.com/Mark Fisher and choose your level of support. As well as the podcast, there is a book, What Do You Call That Noise? An XTC discovery book, which offers a kind of musician's eye of the band. You can buy it at xtclimelight.com, where you'll also find details of all the podcasts. So, not for the first time, we find ourselves in a very small dressing room at the Voodoo Rooms in the heart of Edinburgh, where Gayle, Ramage and I talked to Terry Chambers about life on the road in the 1970s and also in the 2020s.
What do you call that noise?
I'll go into podcast mode, shall I?
Absolutely.
Here we are, back again in the same place that we were our last interview. I don't know if it was last interview, but a time when you were last in Edinburgh with Gayle Ramage, whose claim to fame, actually it's your claim to fame, Terry. Gayle was not a fan of XTC until she saw EXTC. EXTC got her into Galashiel. So you tell your story, Gayle.
Yeah, she's not alone. I mean, see, you are one of millions.
No, but I didn't explain it properly. So you were playing the Scottish Borders last year, and I saw the poster for Johnson Wires.
Oh, right, yeah.
You had the Johnson
and you
Wires
want your money
design.
back because it wasn't that
I
bad.
need to play there again. So I'd not heard XTC before. I recognised the Johnson Wires design,
Right.
and I thought, if I'll give it a listen, and if I like what I'm hearing, I'll buy a ticket. I liked what I heard. I bought a ticket, and the rest is history. I am a fan, officially.
Big fan.
Wow.
And has tickets for this
£20 note.
Thank you very much.
And she's got tickets for the bowl in Swindon.
Oh, right,
Yes.
okay, that's good.
Looking
So
forward to
you
that.
can tell what's she going to get at the Swindon Bowl.
Well, she's going to get Air Band. It's the 50th anniversary since the original XTC. When I say the original XTC, it included Johnny Perkins was on keyboards at that point, so it was before Barry Andrews joined. It was 1976, so it was 50th anniversary since we actually did that to the day. And the reason I know that is because it was my 21st birthday.
And this is your birthday at the same day. Yeah, you have the same birthday every year.
And luckily, yes. It's again, but this time it's my 71st birthday. So
how does that feel?
Well,
to think about it.
I don't know. Feels as if I've sort of been died and born again, but I've sort of come back in somebody else's body. And the significance of the 21st birthday was we did this gig at the Bowl, and that evening I spent it round at a place called a guy called Dave James's house, who the previous week had appeared on New Faces and played a song goes Wheels Go Round, I believe the song was. And I still remember this now because he said, you would come around and this. And we kept seeing a replay of this thing. He had it on some sort of old video machine or tape machine back in those days, continuously all evening. So I spent my 21st birthday watching this stuff all night and it was a 3-minute song. So you can imagine after, 10 watches of this thing there, I could really play the thing myself, believe it or not. But so that was the reason I remember this particular day. And we're going to go back this July the 18th, and I just thought it was significant. And people had been saying, you haven't played Swindon for a long time. To be fair, there's not really that many venues there without running too many places down. The Vic's still sort of going there, but it's a bit you know.
You've done warm-up
We
gigs.
have played there before, and the Mecca I think is too sort of big, and it's not. I don't think it's a particularly good venue for bands to play. The sound in there has never been particularly good. And the Arts Centre there holds 250 people seated, and we like to play to people that can move around and do. I mean, we're a rock band really, and I don't really particularly want people to sit down here and analyse it too much. Although the age group that come to see us these days probably want to sit down
here
here.
about analysing XTC's music. Don't stop me now.
But yeah, I mean, there's room in this facility to lie down. So you know, you've got the option of dancing, standing, lying, sitting, or whatever. So we're just praying for dry weather, really, because that's going to be very important.
And for those who've never seen the Swindon Bowl, describe what it looks like. It's basically a big field with it is literally a bowl.
Yeah, it's a town gardens that's got beautiful flowers and trees and one thing and another. It's a place that people go to enjoy the outdoors. Mm-hmm. And there's a nice green area there, and the bowl itself is sort of a mini version of the Hollywood Bowl in a sense, and it's similarly shaped. So
just not as famous.
Yeah, it's not quite. It hasn't quite got the same prestige, but no, it's a lovely place, and I thought it was significant. Mm-hmm. So, luckily, Swindon Borough Council have been kind enough to be part of this, and mm-hmm. I'm thankful for that.
And how many times in the various guises with different names did XTC
I think we played there twice.
Twice.
We originally played there, I think it's the Helium Kids with Dave Cartner,
yeah.
who once again, sadly, we lost last year. He was the original guitar player in our band with Colin, Andy and myself.
And if I did some research this morning, a little bit of research, which was that it was one of the 2 gigs you played as the Snakes because you couldn't agree with the name.
Well, yeah, well that could well be. I'm glad you did that because yeah, that I was yeah, we were sort of wondering what names to go under, but fundamentally it was XTC.
I think what I read, it's all coming back to me now. Steve Hutchins didn't like Helium Kids,
right.
Suggested something else. You ended up with the Snakes, but then for some reason he didn't show up at the bowl gig.
I think Andy decided he wasn't quite right for
yeah.
singing the songs. He wasn't delivering the songs in the fashion that he liked.
Yeah.
Although we did some gigs with him, we supported bands like Budgie, for example, mm-hmm. Town Hall with Hutchins. And with Dave Cartner, we supported Thin Lizzy at the Swindon College in 1974. So this is a couple of years before that. So, you know, and I think the beauty of playing with those bands who were established recording bands, it really gave us a target in as much that these guys were so good. We thought we've got to be a hell of a lot better than this if we're going to be taken remotely serious as regards even describing yourself as a musician. So it was sort of basically the kick up the backside we all needed, really, to think if you're going to be doing any of this, you've got to be a lot better than this.
And just that professional attitude.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, and I think it's crucial for bands to play with other bands because otherwise you have nothing to compare it to. I mean, because your mum and dad's always going to say, "Oh, you were great," you know. Yeah. But that's not. It's encouraging, but it's not actually telling you the truth. Yeah. You need to say, "Actually, you're crap," and if you don't do anything. And one of the other things that I mean, actually, Jasper Carrott actually sort of pretty much said that. We went in a competition long ago. One of these band competitions, and Jasper Carrott was one of the judges, and he said, "I don't think this band will ever go anywhere." So that was another thing to say, well, we're going to try and prove you wrong. But so we went in a lot of places. We didn't do any good, but we've been to a lot of places.
And you, like really early on in the band's career, you were playing with those bands you've just mentioned. Was it? Were you nervous? Because you're on the same set as them.
Yeah, I mean, the Town Hall was a big gig, you know, for us. I can't remember how many people were in there, but it was a big gig, you know, with Budgie fans. So, and it was, you know, they weren't very sympathetic to a local support band, to be fair, the crowd. I mean, Swindon crowds have always been, your home crowd has always been a difficult one to, you know. So I think XTC have always had a bit of a reluctance to sort of play the town, to be fair. because there's always greener pastures elsewhere, having come from the place. But yeah, I just thought, well, look, and a lot of people said about you playing Swindon and one thing and another, so we're going to do it, and hopefully they turn up and you know, are in reasonable spirits, and I mean, I'm the only Swindonian in the band, to be honest. But yeah, I'm hoping it'll be okay.
Yeah. And then the lineup, you were just talking to us before we started recording about who's on that bill. And you've had a hand in sort of putting the whole thing together, as
I reached out to a couple of guys that I know locally, John Bucket being one, and Stuart Rowe, because these guys do recording and they're in touch with local musicians and one thing and another. I tried to keep it as fairly local as I could, you know, in the interest of keeping Swindon Borough Council happy, because they are a community-based organisation, and so both of those guys were very helpful in putting this thing together. But so there's going to be 3 other acts other than ourselves. Jim Blair is one of them. Mickelson is another one. We hope to be doing at least an hour and a half of you know, the best stuff that XTC could ever conjure up, hopefully.
And you're now, when I look at those tours that you've been doing in America and the UK, it's very, very, very similar to what you were doing in the late 70s in terms of the intensity of it.
I mean, I think we've discussed this before. It was my reason for joining a band is to play in the live environment. To me, that's what it takes. And luckily for me, this thing's 6 years old even as we speak. It was 6 years old on, I believe, May the 7th or 8th or 9th of this month. So it's a 6-year-old thing. Having said that, I think it was about 18 months or 2 years of COVID immediately after we started this thing. So, but it's been going essentially 6 years, I suppose, but as a working outfit, probably 4. Mm-hmm. But so we actually established this thing in 2020.
Mm-hmm. And in that time you've been a 4-piece, a 3-piece. I think. What are you? Are you a 5-piece now?
No, we're a 4-piece.
You're a 4-piece again now.
Yeah. Until after the show, and then we'll decide who wants to leave. It's been a bit of a revolving door, but it keeps it fresh, and you know, people come and go, and you know, I mean, the thing is with it, we've done 6 American tours, and a couple of the guys that I've had in the band, you know, they've got young families, mortgages and children and things, and you know, I mean, one of the tours we were away for 10 weeks or something, you know, and it's a lot of time to spend away from loved ones and all that. I mean, nobody loves me, so it doesn't affect me particularly. So and it's something I enjoy doing, and Terry Lyons is a like-minded sort of idiot like myself, and he loves it as well. So I mean, we're exactly the same age. In fact, I'm about 2 months older than him, so you know, we've got nothing better to do. And he's enjoyed it. He's a great bass player, and he's been with me for probably three years or so, and he's done, I don't know, 4 tours of the States or something with us now.
And what have those tours been like in the States in particular?
Oh, I love it. I'd go back. I'd live there. You know, I love the place. I know it's a different world today, and we don't want to get too involved in what's happening currently. But as a place, I think it's all there, and they're lucky people to have what they have. You know, when things get done over there, if there's road construction and stuff, they did get on and do it. Here, we all know. We all know the difference.
Specialise in potholes.
Yeah, it's a nice. I like the place.
Mm-hmm. And do you, because I just look at those tour dates you've got. It's a lot of travelling, a lot of moving on. Do you actually get to see the places?
Not often. We do. Although on the last tour there, we did manage to take a couple of extra days off because we were so close to the Grand Canyon and Monument Valley that I thought was a bit of a bonus to the chaps. No, actually, it was I just wanted to do it, really. And we took a couple of days off in between travelling from California to Arizona. And we were fortunate to have the time to do that. So, you know, we try and mix a little bit of business with, pleasure with business, I guess. But, because I thought to myself, well, we're that close to it, because we were playing in Phoenix. And you know, you never know when you're ever going to pass that way again. I mean, we've been lucky enough to see Deadwood. We saw, where else did we go? The Little Bighorn, where Custer's Last Stand was, and it's quite moving going to these places. And yeah, we try and do what we can given the time.
And so are you
Monument
going?
Valley. I said Monument Valley. Where else was it? Mount Rushmore was another
Right.
place we went to. You know, Niagara Falls, and obviously the Statue of Liberty. So yeah, we try and do what we can. I mean, we've been very fortunate. I think there's only about 4 states over there now that I haven't been
Really?
to, and one's Hawaii, and there's an obvious reason for that. Alaska is another place, which there's an obvious reason for that. There's no demand at all for this band. So yeah, and I think the other one is just North Dakota, I think, and West Virginia for some reason.
You'll need to take them off your list next time.
Well, yeah, I suppose so. But yeah, so we've done pretty much a lot of them.
Yeah. And have you been going back to places that you remember playing as XTC?
Yeah, there was a place, one of the places there, my father's place. Although it's in a different building now, it's still run by the same guy that booked us there. It was their very first gig in the United States with Dave Gregory.
That's amazing, yeah.
Yeah, so and he's still alive and kicking and still putting the band on. I mean, it's quite incredible, really. You don't find that very often.
No. And one of the, with XTC, what you would do with XTC as opposed to EXTC, you were if you look at the tour dates, you were gradually getting bigger and bigger, moving to theatres from clubs to whatever, and working your way up. Is the same thing happening here? Are you getting new audiences, or?
Well, they are new audiences in as much that there's quite a few young people, like this lovely young lady who sat next to me right at this moment. Yeah, so we managed to convert quite a few young people there.
Mm-hmm.
As regards the size of the venues, they're usually all pretty much about the same. They're sort of clubs. They have a meal and a band sort of thing over there a lot.
Mm-hmm.
There's City Wineries, there's a chain over there. Michael Dorff is the owner, who happens to be an XTC fan, and he books us because he likes us, and then charges people for the privilege of coming in there and eating his food. But he's a lovely guy, and yeah, there's certain people there that help the band out a lot. But they're not big theatres by any stretch of the imagination, but they're nice places.
And what's the mood like if you're playing to a seated audience as opposed to, tonight we'll all be on our feet?
Yeah, I prefer people to stand, really. The problem we have with theatres is people tend to sit down and analyse a little bit, and we just want people to sort of let their hair down a bit and move around a bit. But yeah, I mean, they're okay. We do them both. But I certainly prefer the atmosphere in a place there where you can get a beer and see people jumping up and down and being stupid for a while.
Because sometimes when you're in an audience, you can think, oh, the band's just going to do what the band's going to do, and the audience doesn't make any difference. But I think the audience makes a huge difference.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you pick up. It's like being in a football team, really.
Yeah.
If the supporters rather are behind the team, well, they can get on their back, your performance there, if you see happy smiling faces, you think, they're getting, and it just creates the whole vibe. You do get affected by audience reaction, and usually if they're standing up there with a beer in their hand, sort of doing all this sort of stuff, it's certainly, I prefer that than people sort of sitting down, sort of scratching their chins, thinking, if that was Andy, he wouldn't be doing that. You know what I mean? So.
I was just reading about the gig, the first night when you did Caracas, Venezuela, when the police. Well, you can tell the story, but the police were sort of laying into the audience apparently and trying to.
Yeah, that was it's still a frightening place even today. I mean, they actually lit a fire. It was sort of like a basketball hall, this place that we were playing in Caracas at the time. We were there doing a couple of nights with Jules Holland and the Millionaires, with the other band that we're on. And these people sort of lit a fire in the middle of this room. And it was just sort of like a wooden floored place. And it was, I mean, we weren't Motorhead or anybody like that, you know what I mean? We were just doing our stuff. It was, it was a very scary place to be. And we were there for about 5 days, I think. And it wasn't a particularly pleasant experience, you know, and I don't think we sold any records either. So yeah, it was a bit of a bizarre one, really. But I think management sort of, you know, go where no man has gone before. You know, it was the Ian Reid days, of course. And I mean, we just recently come back from Ireland, and we haven't been to Ireland since the Troubles there in about 1978. We never ever went there with Dave. We played there with Barry. And it's quite a different place there now, but you know, I mean, Ian Reid, our manager, he was saying, no, it's going to be good publicity because, you know, you go into the front line and there was people getting bombed and all this sort of business, but they were glad to see us there in as much that it was entertainment, and they didn't have much joy in their life back in those days. And I actually met a couple of guys there who actually came to see some of those gigs, and it was they were quite emotional, you know, to think that after all this time, you know, we had bothered to go there in 1978 when all the troubles were going on, sort of risking our own lives, really good, driving around in a sort of English vehicle and one thing and another there, and obviously being English, yeah, it was pretty nerve-wracking. But there was a couple of guys there, and they were quite emotional to see that after this time they were still listening to some of these things, and we played a couple of songs, obviously like Statue of Liberty and that perhaps we would have obviously played them back in that day. Yeah. So yeah, it was nice. And it just reinforces that point I was making, which is that you're an entertainer. Yes, that's the word. You're an entertainer. Of course. But you're not just entertaining. You're aware of what's going on around you. You're aware of the mood of the room. You're aware of. Yeah. In Belfast, there's Catholics and Protestants in the same room, and they're getting on with each other and having a good time. Yeah, exactly. You know, there was people there when we did go during the Troubles. There was next door neighbours. One was a Protestant, one was Catholic. They was best mates. You know, so it wasn't sort of as black and white as people sort of make out. There was, you know, there's Protestants that want to remain part of the British Isles, and there's Catholics that want to do that, and there's some on the other side that don't. So you've got four fractions there, and then you've got obviously two that don't even like each other. So it's a mixed up, jumbled up, shook up world. Who said that? That's about close to seeing as you're going to get. But yeah, it's a shame really. But those people that are out there, they're like the Scots. We love coming up here too. You know, it's a great place to be. Yeah, and it's interesting that there are different. Because you think on balance, for example, Manchester was really into XTC, I think. Some cities just took to XTC in a way that you'd have thought surely everywhere would be roughly the same, but they're not. Not everywhere isn't the same. No, this you know, you're absolutely right in that. There's different sort of places. I don't really want to name anywhere as a difficult place there because they name the good ones. But yeah, there's certainly places there where you become surprisingly more popular than others. The other one I've been looking at is Eric's in Liverpool. Well, that was a fantastic. And you played there a lot. Yeah. Well, you know yourself, Roger Eagle's the guy that used to run the place there, Eric's. But that was a fantastic venue, and in any 1 week you would have, say, the likes of us. There would be Ultravox, there would be the Clash, the Boomtown Rats, you know, Deaf School, U2, or you know, the whole lot, whoever was the Damned and all the band, and that would be all in a week. Yeah, you know, every day of the week. Yeah. Roger Eagle was a fantastic promoter and a great venue. That was a lovely place to play. And that would to do like the architecture, whatever. It felt like a good place to play. Yeah, I mean, it was a bit of a dive, but when it came to sort of, you know, but you know, the sort of music that was going around at the time, sort of. Couldn't expect anything more. Really. I mean, you're not going to be playing at the Ritz, you know, when you're sort of playing. They were a punk venue, you know, and you also people jumping around, spitting and kicking and spilling beer everywhere. You know, you're not going to have sort of like, you know, Persian carpets on the floor, are you? And you pioneered under 18 gigs, didn't you? In Swindon and Eric's, I think you did. Yeah, and also another place we played there was the Marquee in London. We did matinee shows quite often. You know, it was hard work. You know. What were the atmosphere of those gigs like? Funnily enough, I saw a guy that actually was at one of the matinee gigs, and he's about 60 now or something. You know what I mean? He said I was 14 or something like that. But obviously we were only about 20 or 21 when that took place. So I sort of worked out the maths. So he was about 62, but he was only 14 at the time.
Yeah.
And he was at one of these matinee gigs, and it was an opportunity for kids to go there. Obviously alcohol free and all this sort of business, but people being dropped off by their kids. But yeah, it was a great thing, and that kid still remembers it. You know, instead of going to Scouts or somewhere, he went to this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we did quite a few of those. It was good times.
Yeah, and it meant I was talking to. Oh, in fact, it's the guy who he's now in charge of music at Liverpool City Council, whatever that job is.
Yeah.
And he went. It wasn't his very first gig, because he'd sneaked in illegally to over 18 things, but it was his first legit under 14s XTC at Eric's. And he's now running the whole of music in Liverpool. He's the man. But he kept on going, and he'd be seeing by the week. I don't know, Echo and the Bunny, when Teardrop Explodes, all of these people.
Yeah.
Joy Division would come
Japan
over,
and all them sort of bands.
And still remember.
I mean, Liverpool obviously. Well, as a result of the Mersey beat thing there, not just the Beatles, but all the other great bands that came out of there. Jerry Marsden and all those. I mean, just a fantastic city, as you well know.
Yeah.
There's two of the lads in the band.
I'm kicking myself because I would have been the right age if I'd have known about the under 8.
Yeah.
I don't know whether I'd even discovered XTC at the time, but I could have gone to an under 40 XTC. It could have been my first gig, but I didn't. It wasn't. Yeah. But you were in the same area. And what were your energy levels like to be able to do 2 gigs in the same day? Was that?
Yeah, well, we were young and fit and silly at the time, and I suppose from Andy's point of view it would have been a bit difficult, because vocally it would have been a lot to do, and he was incredibly energetic in his live performance as well. Whether he took a bit more of a reserved approach for the children's gigs, I can't remember, but I mean, thankfully it wasn't every day of the week, so but the beauty of it was you just set the gear up once and then you did one. I mean, we're doing 2 sets now, so on most occasions, so but it was fast and frenetic back in those days, but you were young and youthful, and you had a lot I'm going to pace myself a little bit better these days.
And can you remember, if you look at, my impression is, if you look like just that year before you were signed, so like earlier in 78, you were gigging relentlessly.
Yeah.
So I mean 77, don't I?
Yeah.
You were gigging relentlessly, and then it seems to be, and people seem to be liking you, but then there was a point, just I guess as you were signed, where it feels to me, the sense is that you went from good to great. Was there a transition? Was it just that thing of just playing and playing?
I think fundamentally it was just getting road hardened and starting to know your craft, which is, as we mentioned earlier, having played with some recording bands like Thin Lizzy and Budgie and so on and so forth, and there's a few others. We felt that the only way to do this is to be able to do that, and we were fortunate enough there to eventually get ourselves an agent, MAM agency, and it was John Giddings and that, who now runs the Isle of Wight Festival, and he's been doing so since about 1986, I think, or 84. People like that, and there was also lots of venues like Eric's and Rotters in Manchester and the Electric Ballroom, and there was lots of places. Unfortunately today those places are diminishing by the week, pubs and stuff. So for young people it was a great time to be about, and we were fortunate enough to have people there that would put us on. Yeah.
So you weren't particularly conscious of getting better, but you probably were getting better without even realising it.
Yeah. Well, I like to think so. I guess we got better. Yeah.
Like the Beatles at Hamburg, you just do it and do it and do it and do it.
Yeah, I mean those guys used to do 4 gigs in a day. The Beatles. They used to do sort of ridiculous stuff.
I'm going to bring Gayle in, because Gayle at the moment is doing every month listening parties on social media.
Okay.
I've just realised I missed the second one. You
dare
did
you.
White Music O2. You're about to do Drums and Wires.
Drums and Wires, on the 25th of March.
So are there any questions for Drums and Wires related questions that Terry could feed into? So the idea is that everybody is at home listening to the record while talking to each other on social media.
So you all have your own copy, whether it's vinyl, CD, streaming, and you press play at the same time. And as we're all listening to the album, we just post about, if people have been to see XTC or been to see yourselves at the XTC, and just anything about the songs, just memories, and it's been quite nice. It's sort of quietly building. So this is the third.
So when it comes to Drums and Wires there, other than the fact that you like the album sleeve, what else about it?
That's as far as you got. Doesn't like music.
I'm glad.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I thought, lovely cover. looks well, Great.
I was just thinking with the change of the lineup, with Barry leaving and Dave coming in, and then the change of direction in terms of the music. Did you change your approach to how you did things yourself in any aspect?
Well, I think the difference when Dave joined after Barry left, suddenly we had a musician in the band as opposed to a bunch of guys there that was just out having a good time. Because Gregsy sort of straightened up, well, you can't play that with that, and all this sort of stuff. And he certainly straightened the thing out musically and put it into a direction that, arguably sort of people started to listen to, whereas there was a bit of a thrash there before that, and but once again it was off the time. But I think when it got to that third album there, as Mark said earlier, we probably got a little bit better aircraft. Having done a lot of gigs and had the experience of then recording 2 records. And the other factor, of course, was Virgin Records were about to boot us out if we didn't get a hit single off of the next album. We were about to hit the road, So, no real pressure, but I think we just naturally got better, really. And luckily, they came up with some pretty good songs at the same time. So, and we had a good engineer and a great producer as well. Not that John Leckie wasn't, but he could only record the songs that we had at the time, and arguably they weren't as good. So that's the way I get round the John Leckie, Steve Lillywhite situation. He's certainly no better producer, but he just had better clay to mould. Is that a thing?
It is a thing.
It is now.
And did that make you? Do you think as a drummer you were forced to become a bit more sensitive because the material was becoming a bit more sensitive? I don't know whether sensitive is the right word or subtle.
Yeah, they seemed to sort of give it a lot more life. It was, they were sort of more ambiently recorded, and they started to sound a little bit more in the John Bonham sort of thing. I thought, wow, these drums sound great. Whereas up to that point, the drums are pretty much sort of like, well, you're just keeping time, they just keep going on as they do. But it became a bit of a feature here because the material that Colin and Andy were writing, these were getting a little bit more, we sort of, getting away from the hi-hat, snare, bass, drum thing and incorporating more toms within the rhythm of the songs. And so it went in a bit of a different direction. And obviously with Dave's help, he was a multi-instrumentalist. So he played guitar as well as, and Partridge was then in a position to make sure that Gregsy played the difficult parts, and he could sort of like just mess about doing what he was doing. So it was we got lucky really. We had Partridge, who was a brilliant front man, singer. Well, he'd argue that he's not a good singer, but I think he is, because he's the only one that could sing his songs really. And Colin came out of his shell as well, and he started sort of writing some good songs. I don't know, we just all got better, I guess. I was probably the weak link in it, to be fair.
And I could counteract that by saying that you were effectively the drummer who defined the sound of the 1980s because of that gated reverb and
yeah,
the drums begin. Did that? Were you? It's like the sort of thing you can look in retrospect and say, oh yeah, that's where it did begin. But
well, I mean, people say that. I don't want to get sort of.
I invented 80s
the thing is,
music.
I mean, it was Hugh Padgham really that got that sound in the Stone Room, and well, it's a fact that these things were recorded before the Phil Collins stuff. So, and Phil used to Hugh Padgham as his engineer. So I mean, you just work it out yourself.
And I've come across an interview with, but maybe more than one, where way before you've even started recording or even thinking about drums and wires, you were already talking about getting bigger drum sounds. It was like, yes, Hugh enabled it to happen, but you wanted it to happen. You were trying to get bigger drums.
Yeah, you know, it was a nice lucky break, I guess.
Yeah,
and not only the Phil Collins thing, of course, it was the Peter Gabriel thing. Who used Collins, and they used Steve Lillywhite. And so I think, you know, whether they listened to drums and wires or not, it's difficult for me to say. But you know, they certainly used the same engineer, the same producer, and the same studio. So.
Yeah.
But you know.
But it's a stupid question in the sense that nobody can predict what's going to come after the thing that you do, but it happened to be that, well, not just that, but the other things XTC did as well, then get picked up by other people, and you can see the influence down the years.
I mean, people started to listen to the band a little bit because we were starting to get taken a little bit more seriously, other than being just sort of some sort of quirky punk band, you know, and we got lucky doing some tours with bands like the Talking Heads and the Cars, and obviously later on, just shortly after that, the Police as well. And they were great gigs. They were great people to play with, and we were lucky. I got to see the Police night after night for weeks. It was brilliant.
Yeah.
For nothing.
And did you when you were at that stage, did you learn from what the Police?
No, I never learned a thing off of them. Yeah. No, sure, learned most of his tricks from me. No, because we had the same drum kit. No, they were fantastic, you know. They treated us very well. We travelled in the same bus at times over there in the States, and they treated us very well. And we had the same agent. They had Miles Copeland, the manager there, who was a great manager, and Ian Copeland, God rest his soul, he's no longer with us either. He was the agent, he looked after us as well, and they were fantastic people. Yeah, it was a great time. I loved every minute of it.
On Tuesday, I'm going to be interviewing Gary Bradshaw, who sends his love to you.
I saw him in Birmingham last week. He came to the show.
I just emailed him this morning saying that I was going to see you. So he says, stay off the 0% lager, Visisland.
Oh, I wouldn't drink that rubbish anyway. He knows it. Funnily, so that gig, funnily enough, there was a guy turned up and he said, I saw XTC in Poole many years ago, I forget what year it was now. He said, the sound was awful. And I said, actually, that guy over there was the sound guy on that particular day. And he was in the room, we were having a beer afterwards. So, I said, we'll take it up with him, I said, because he's responsible.
And the story, for people listening, is that Gary Bradshaw, as I understand it, was he doing lighting engineering or something?
No, he was a guitar tech. He was
guitar tech, but at the last minute he got switched to the sound deck.
Well, absolutely, it was going on. We were about to board a plane to go to the United States, the original XTC band, and our original sound guy, Steve Warren, God bless him, he's still a good friend of mine now, wanted more money because the rest of the road crew were getting more money. So he asked Reed, our manager, for more money, and Reed said, no, you're not getting more money.
Did he want a bed or something like that? Didn't he want a bed or something rather than sleeping in the lorry? It was like
something like that. Yeah, it was something bizarre. And anyway, Reed refused to give him any money. He said, well, I'm not getting on the plane. And he didn't get on the plane. So on the plane, Gary Bradshaw ended up sitting next to Andy Partridge. And Partridge asked Gary if he had anything. Have you ever done any of this mixing malarkey? Is the word. And Gary said, well, I've done a little bit in a couple of pubs, sort of thing, you know, sort of 4-channel mixer or some bloody thing. But and then he ended up getting thrown in the deep end. The next thing you know, he's on this plane, but at the other end of it, he's going to be mixing the band in some of these bigger places, you know. And Gary recorded a lot of that stuff. He's got some recordings of us playing live. He actually sent me one of Scissor Man, and it lasts about 7 minutes, and even I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, because it goes into that dub section, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a live thing here from Birmingham Odeon of all places. Yeah, and I sort of try to make sure that if he's got the rest of it there, I think it would be an interesting thing to listen to too. Yeah. He's a great. He ended up being a great sound engineer.
Mm-hmm. And did you, when the band was doing? Because quite often, most of the time, I think when XTC were playing live, it was do the song, straight into the next song. But once or twice with Battery Brides, with Scissor Man, one or two other things, you let rip and you're allowed a time for a sort of improvisation. How are you with improvisation? How are we?
Well, not particularly good. Colin and I used to sort of like, look, how much longer are you going to keep this going for? You know, Farsi was getting himself into some sort of trance with certain songs, and we were thinking, you know, we've had enough of this. Is the audience, you know, he'd go off on one, but sometimes they went on a bit too long, I think. But
it must have been tempting for you to just go.
Yeah, you know, but that could have been my third time of getting sacked. I was sort of sacked twice for different things, but reinstated because I don't think you could get anybody else by the next day that learned this stuff.
I need those two stories. Tell me the two stories about being sacked.
One of them was at the Electric Ballroom, I think, or Electric Circus, sorry, in Manchester, where I got the Drones, a band, got me drunk before we went on, and my performance was awful. The party said you're sacked, you know. So that was one thing, and I think it was something happened in Birmingham for some reason, and it was another occasion where he wasn't happy, and after that we had a no alcohol before gig ban policy, and
which I think you stick to this day, don't you?
To this day, yeah. It's just not a good combination.
Yeah. I
enjoy a couple of cold ones afterwards, of course. But certainly not before, because it's when you think about it. I mean, you're young and you're stupid, and you just think that, you know, you never know when this is going to end. So you just enjoy every moment of it, and that's not really the professional way of doing it. Because people are paying 27 quid here tonight to see this stuff. They don't want to see some drunk up there just doing it. You know what I mean? Because that's not a good look. Mm-hmm. So you owe it to the people there to be as good as you can. It's bad enough when you are sober. It's difficult enough. You know what I mean?
And did you know on those occasions that you were doing a bad job?
No, I didn't. But it's you're the only one that think you're doing a good job.
Yeah.
You know. And I mean, you wouldn't drive doing it, so you know. What other job can you get? You don't get sort of pissed and go. You can't do any job doing that, can you? No.
I just remember years ago.
So this is no different, really. I mean, there's those that do, of course, and you know.
I remember just years ago doing something like Pac-Man on the computer, and just having a small amount of drink, like one beer or one glass of wine or something, and realising that my score was going down. Yeah. That's all it takes.
Exactly. So I mean, it's no different than driving, really, is it? You know, when you think about it, your concentration, you don't see things so well, and obviously playing music and stuff. Mm-hmm. I don't think it enhances the performance, put it that way.
Yeah. Although it's a relaxant, it can help you if you've got stage nerves.
Some people want to have a bit of nerves. So Stephen, who was the guitar player previously in this band, he'd like to have a beer, but some people get nervous, and I don't think it's the right crutch to use personally. No. And I don't know what you get. As long as you're well rehearsed and you know what you're doing. After a while, you don't get nervous, really.
Is that right?
I don't get nervous now. It's just sort of, I'm at a point there, I sort of know it pretty well, I think. Mm-hmm. You know, if you've got confidence with the people around you, you don't sort of need that. Mm-hmm. You know, I think, you know, when you look at performance-enhancing things, you know, I think of people like Taylor Hawkins, you know, that... unfortunately died at the age of 50. Well, when you're playing stuff like the Foo Fighters, which is very much fast and frenetic and all this business, when you're 21 and all that, you can do all that sort of stuff there. But when you get to about the age of 45, 50, you know, and you're still obliged to be playing this stuff. Thank goodness I don't have to do Neon Shuffle and stuff like that, because I'd be in the same boat, really. So, and he couldn't play in that band really without playing those hits off the Foo Fighters, because they were massive hits. So you're a victim of your own success, and in order to maintain that, sometimes you need a bit of help.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, some people
It's too much help.
use the wrong help.
Yeah.
It's not for me to say, of course, but I think you know what I'm talking about, and it's
Well, it's just reminded me of another question, which is I think it's quite interesting that XTC, with the possible exception of, or not even the possible, with the exception of Barry Andrews, were never a drug band. You're a drink band, but never a drug band.
That's right, yeah.
Does that was that like a group decision, or is it just happened like that?
I'm not sure really. I don't suppose we were exposed to it
Because you went in London
to the degree that other bands were.
Yeah.
We certainly didn't have an interest in it. Because I don't think it was a recipe for success.
Mm-hmm. And it sounds like you were very clear that you wanted success, and you wanted to find out how to get success, and you were careful.
Yeah, I guess so. We didn't really sort of think about it too much. I think, we all enjoyed a beer afterwards, and we're not spirit drinkers either. We don't drink whiskey or any of that sort of stuff. Like some of the bands, like guys like Lemmy and that are synonymous with Jim Beam or whatever it is he used to drink, and all that sort of hard liquor and hard women and all this sort of stuff. The real rock and roll thing. We weren't really a rock and roll band. We were just, we didn't get tangled up with any of that stuff.
Because from Andy's point of view, it makes sense because of his own history with taking medication and stuff.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I mean, the story of him sort of taking Valium on one thing and another, we were all unaware of that.
Yeah.
Right until
when
it ended up, we were unaware of it. And I was quite surprised about that.
Obviously, with the XTC, you're playing a certain amount of songs that you didn't originally play on. So what was it like sort of learning these for the first time, and is there any in particular like you really enjoy playing?
Yeah, they were all easy. No, incredibly. I mean, there were some great drummers that played those things. Mark's probably got the list of the whole lot. Chuck Sabo, Pat Mastelotto, Pete Phipps. All those guys, just fantastic drummers, I'd stick somewhere near what's going on there, but, you'll be the judge tonight. I sort of put my own sort of thing to it. I sort of use it as a bit of a blueprint for a thing, and then likewise with the other guys that are in the band, they're not, we're realists in as much that none of them are Dave Gregory, none of them are Andy Partridge or Colin Moulding. There's a bit of a framework there that you work to, and hopefully it's going to be sufficiently recognisable that you'll know which songs are which. I'll try and do the best I can without note for note. I don't get too tangled up with that, because if you want to do that, just listen to the records. Really, this is our version of that. I mean, I think they sang pretty good.
And after 6 years, I imagine. I wouldn't be surprised if you now didn't distinguish from one to another. They've all become your songs in that sense.
I think the set works pretty well now. We try and freshen up. We're going to start doing 3 different songs next time around. We're adding a different 3 and just giving a couple of rest. I think we do certain songs better than others. We try and do justice to the ones that we feel we can play as a 4-piece band, whereas the original band, did lots of overdubs. They had strings and all sorts of manner of things that, because the band didn't have the restrictions of playing live, they could do what they wanted to do in the studio. Well, we're trying to, do that, but do justice to the songs. So there's certain songs that I felt anyway that we shouldn't touch, because, we like sort of trying to do some sort of Tchaikovsky stuff there with a 10-piece outfit instead of a 40-piece orchestra or something, So yeah, we try and cut off what we think we can do a reasonable job with.
And you're billing it, is it, I'm not sure if it's now or the future gigs, so you're billing as greatest hits. So
well, that's the agent that's doing that, really. I mean, they always want to call it something Alfred or Fred or some bloody thing. Yeah. You know, this is sort of like, this is pop race. That's not my idea, but they got to promote it in some way, shape or form, so I don't know, sometimes...
So you're not you're not changing the set just to match that title?
No, I mean, originally some of the promoters wanted to say, just do all the whole Black Sea thing because it's the anniversary of this, that and the other. I thought, we can't do it. The original band never did all the XTC
Travels and
and all that, because some of those songs just don't lend themselves. We're not Pink Floyd doing The Wall. Mm-hmm. They don't lend themselves to the live thing, really, in this outfit. I mean, even the original band, we used to play what we could play, and that's why one of the reasons that Partridge wanted to stop touring, really, is because he didn't want to keep regurgitating the same stuff. He's an artist, Partridge. He likes to do this stuff, he'd move on from that, paint that thing and move on. And we didn't realise that at the time, but that's obviously what was in his mind, and that's what artists do. They create this work and then they move on. They do.
They don't keep on painting.
Like me, I'm just sort of stuck where I am. So, yeah.
Do you think EXTC have become a better band over the time?
Yeah, I think we have, yeah.
You were good already, so I'm very much looking forward to tonight.
Yeah, you know, you try and get it as good as what you can. We were all right last night, you know, but I think, yeah, you get your days. This is a nice place to play. Ewan's a fantastic promoter, and he's had us here on several occasions. I think you've been to every one of them.
Yeah.
And in different formats. It's a lovely place to play, and we're looking forward to it. I'm enjoying doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
It's great to be able to have the opportunity to come places like this, you know.
Yeah. So is it? But now that you have been on the road for so long, is it almost like that bit in the middle has disappeared in your Australian years and whatever?
Well, it's as if it's another life, really. Yeah. I feel like a cat with 9 lives, really. It's hard to imagine that, and I think my children will probably... My son's sort of come to America with me on a couple of tours as sort of a tour manager, drum roadie, come driver type of thing, and he sort of understands it because he plays. My 2 daughters have never seen me doing any of this, and it's sort of like, you know, it's like
you should have been
suddenly you've
by
sort
now.
of like come out and your dad's your mum. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you know, because I was, you know, I went into a musical hiatus there for a long period of time because I played over there with a band there, but it just wasn't the same as playing with Partridge and Colin and Dave. You know, it was like, well, that part of my life's over. But then I got divorced and one thing and another, and I came back, met Colin, and he said, "Oh, I'm doing this thing, what do you think?" And it was a chance meeting, really, and that was really the beginning of it, that TC thing that you know all about.
Actually, it's very similar to me. I've tried to stop writing about XTC, and it follows you back again. It's the only thing I can do.
You know, once it's in your blood, it's sort of like a thing, you just sort of can't get rid of it. And I mean, it's I've, you know, pinch myself nearly every day thinking, it's just really still going on, and it's 6 years. And bloody hell, pretty lucky, really.
Yeah.
Well, damn lucky.
And your plan is to keep on keeping on?
Yeah, you know, as long as people are turning out and there's an interest there, you know, and we're not losing money doing it, you know, we're all sort of, everybody in the band's retirement age now anyway, but you've got to have a reason for getting up in the morning now. I'd rather just sort of sit on the couch watching bloody TV or something, you know, I mean, yeah.
But it's like it's just an interesting point that the history of rock and roll has come to it, so that now so many people are at retirement age but are still out there. I'm looking just behind you. There's Martin McAloon, Paddy McAloon's brother. I saw him here doing Prefab Sprout songs.
Okay.
I don't know what age he is, but you know, No Spring Chicken and but they're still out there.
Yeah.
There's Tom Robinson.
Well, Tom,
Yeah.
we played with Tom many years ago.
Yeah. There's the XTC. And the whole thing here.
Well, that's an old poster. That's from the last time, isn't it?
We'll update it.
Oh, it must be.
I'm
Yeah.
surprised it's still there.
Yeah. It's the best thing that's happened here in all that time. Well, thank you very much for that, Terry.
Not at all.
Unless you have
Thank
any
you.
other views.
No, I think you actually asked some of the
More
questions I
questions.
was going to ask.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all. We'll be here if you think of anything later on. We can have another chat. I better go out there and see,
Yes.
see if we can
Do some work,
sort-
yeah.
Thank you for your time.
Make
Yeah,
some
thank you very much
Thank
for
you
that.
very much for that. It's a pleasure.
What do you call that noise?
Thanks to Terry Chambers for that fantastic conversation, not to mention to Lynn Farrar for setting it up, and the rest of EXTC for a splendid night. And thanks also to Dave Beale and Daryl Roberts for the music, and to you for listening. What Do You Call That Noise? The XTC podcast is sponsored by Burning Shed, the online home for all XTC CD, vinyl, and official merchandise. It is also made possible by the delightful supporters on Patreon, who include the following Knights in Shining Karma: Terry Arnett, Kevin Burt, Lorenzo Ciacci, Gayle Corbett, Liam Duggan, Jamie Dunn, Alison Eales, Jeff Farris, Mike Grafe, Robert Graham, Camille Henry, Stephen Hope, Alan Hughes, Rick James, Peter Kitchen, Marek Kraus, Jesper Kumberg, Robert Lawlaw, Adrian Loon, Liz Lynch, Murray Meikle, Yusef Murrah, Amy Parkinson, Tim Parsons, Gayle Ramage, Mark Reed, James Reimer, Jamie Rostamora, Michael Sutcliffe, Steve Swift, Mark Thomas, John Wedemeyer, Lucy Verbitsky, and Martin Whitley. See you next time.